Hi, I'm Wilhelm. You have heard me saying that our life here on earth is like a school for our soul, which ends with graduation day, also called our physical death. Unfortunately, very few are prepared and informed about what happens after our death or graduation. Particularly when the person was very materialistic oriented in his life. I like to share an example of a wealthy person who has never thought about the spiritual aspect of his existence.
But before we do that, I want to mention that wealth in itself is not wrong or evil. Wealth is just energy, and a wealthy person who knows that can do a lot of good for himself and others when he shares his abundance with those who are less fortunate. But it is very different when that person is extremely attached to his wealth. For instance, like this person here, Mr. Big Shot. His whole life he worked very hard for what he owns, his properties, his bank accounts, his investments, his inheritance, and with his increasing wealth came reputation, power, prestige, and privileges. But then, suddenly, out of the blue, he keels over and is dead. Boom! What happens to all his achievements and possessions? Can he hold on to them? In the book The Message from the All, Christ gave us the answer in a wonderful picture of a riverbank. He said, "When you look at the water, you see the reflection of all that is on the riverbank, perhaps houses, bushes, trees, grass. When someone would tell you to jump into the river and hold on to this tree, you would not do it, because you know that it is merely a reflection, an illusion. There is nothing to hold on to in this reflection, and that is very similar with everything that we want to hold on to in this life. It is all only a temporary illusion. When we die, we are waking up like out of an intense dream. The spiritual reality is far more real than our temporarily worldly illusion, but not everyone sees it the same way. We must keep in mind that every person has a very individual transition process, which we call death. No two death experiences are exactly alike. Not everybody will automatically be greeted by relatives and friends as it happens for many souls who have left this earth. However, every soul is accompanied by a guardian spirit. Unfortunately, some souls hardly perceive their guardian spirit because they continue to live in their illusion even after death, like here in our example of Mr. Big Shot. Totally confused about his sudden new reality, his soul may not notice the impulses and counsel his guardian spirit tries to give him. So what does such an ill-prepared soul do? For him, the illusionary world he left behind is the only reality he knows. He has never contemplated the spiritual side of existence. He only believes in the physical reality, and he has put so much energy into getting all the stuff. Therefore, one possibility for him is that his soul identifies so much with his worldly possessions and environment that he may now be pulled back into this illusion and will now be living as an earthbound soul here among all the stuff that was once his and also live among his family. But it is a lonely existence as nobody can see him or acknowledge him. Sometimes this can go on for centuries until deeper insights and inner reflection make him ready for his spiritual progress. I made a special video about these earthbound spirits and recommend the movie The Sixth Sense, which demonstrates this phenomena superbly. But there is another possibility for this confused soul. It can willfully press to incarnate again. Why? Because the magnetism of the world he remembers is too strong. He is of the opinion that the flesh is the be-all and end-all, and his desire to experience this is often the path to another incarnation. Ignoring all the warning by his guardian spirit, the soul pushes itself to be born again, in many cases into the same environment and family. By entering the same family dynasties, such souls often continue their life of wealth and power. And here he is again, as a newborn baby. By entering the earthly existence again, the cycle of reincarnation starts all over again for him. As a human being, The soul carries everything from its former incarnations, everything that has not been atoned for. He now has another chance to clear his karma. But how many are consciously doing it? Do we think Mr. Big Shot will get it right this time? And then there is a third possibility. If he has accumulated his worldly wealth, power and fame with the help and assistance of astral beings, then he has entered a Faustian bargain. Now is the time these deeply fallen souls want their payback. As he has indebted himself with these negative entities, this means that he might be pulled by them into the lower astral spheres where he becomes their servant. More on this in my video on wealth, fame and power and the video on the waters of life. For all of us, life here on earth is like a school where we can spiritually grow and overcome all our past karma. So unless after our physical death we are forcing ourselves to stay or incarnate again here on planet Earth, our soul will be attracted according to the law of attraction to places in the spiritual purification spheres that correspond to the energies or the patterns of our thoughts, feelings, sensations, words and actions which make up our beliefs and behavior. Christ says, as a soul you will often be a stranger even in the beyond, because the places of destination look very different than those that you have acquired in the temporal through money, through possessions, through inheritance, through much more. But there are always helpful angelic beings from higher regions that live in these planes of purification and want to guide us and assist us on our path.
We are never alone, particularly during the time of our transition into the spiritual realms. The angelic forces are there to help us with every step. The more we learn to connect with divinity during our life here on earth, the clearer we will perceive their guidance and help. And the more we let go of our attachments to all worldly things, the easier it is for us to become free again. You may want to watch my 2 videos on death and dying, and you can find a link to the book mentioned beneath this video. It was a pleasure having been with you again. Don't forget to subscribe, and I'm looking forward to see you in my next video.